the end, the main character, Rachel Zegler, may be the only one held accountable if Disney's live-action Snow White fails in the most embarrassing way possible. What did she do to cause this terrible mess? And more significantly, how much money will the Snow White creators lose as a result? Let's examine the forecasts. We assure you that they are morbid. Although the official budget is close to $269,400,000, some insiders are speculating that the true expenses could surpass $300 million due to production delays and innumerable reshoots. With that kind of money, the movie must do very well at the box office in order to break even, let alone make a profit, and the current numbers aren't exactly encouraging. Although not great, the film's opening weekend domestic receipts were initially predicted to be between $63 and $70 million, which was at least within the ballpark of success. However, as reality set in, new estimates began to come in. It is now anticipated that the first weekend will bring in between $48 and $58 million. If you think Disney hasn't noticed, think again. The Mouse House is scrambling. Let's face it, those are not numbers you want when your film costs more than some nation's annual budget. Do you recall how their big live-action films typically have huge premieres complete with A-list celebrities, lavish red carpets, and a frenzied media? Yes, they are drastically cutting back this time. Media access is severely restricted, red carpet events are scaled back, and ticket pre-sales didn't begin until 11 days prior to the release. Disney seems to be preparing for the worst, attempting to deflect criticism before the figures are released, which isn't exactly encouraging, to be honest. However, what has caused these alarming forecasts? Disney's casting choices were the beginning of it all. As a result, Disney revealed that Rachel Zegler, a Latina actress, would be their new Snow White. An additional live-action remake would seem like nothing unusual, wouldn't it? No, the internet took off more quickly than Cinderella at midnight. Why? Because some people didn't have it. They contended that Snow White's name was taken literally because of her snow white skin, a detail taken directly from the Grimm brothers' fairy tale. With her Colombian and Polish ancestry, Rachel arrived and assumed the role that had been portrayed for decades as the ideal pale-skinned princess. People were either ecstatic about the representation or furious about what they perceived as a betrayal of the original character, which is where the online commotion started. However, Rachel wasn't going to take any of that criticism lying down, so she took the backlash, a head-on approach, and essentially declared that Snow White is a fairy tale, a universal tale. She noted that the character is also well-liked in Spanish-speaking nations, and that it was admirable that someone had brought a new viewpoint to the part. Did that, however, calm the storm? Then she made her next move, which sent the traditionalists into full-blown meltdown mode, so it wasn't even close. Zegler added another log just as the internet was beginning to calm down. In addition to calling the 1937 animated classic outdated, she went into full-on criticism, claiming that the plot revolved around a romance with a man who actually stalks her. Her Snow White was not going to be the damsel in distress waiting for Prince Charming, as she made clear. What was this going to be, though? In other times, this might have been a mic drop moment, but in 2025, she claimed that her Snow White would be an empowered Snow White. Oh no, this made the internet a veritable battlefield. Some fans were applauding, stating that a contemporary adaptation featuring a strong female lead was exactly what viewers needed and that it was time for Snow White to get an update. The purists, on the other hand, were those who had grown up adoring the first movie and believed that Disney was stepping all over its own history. At this point, the discussion in Hollywood is about much more than just Rachel Zegler. Studios want to be more inclusive and diverse, but whenever they make a big casting choice like this, fans who prefer things to remain the same react negatively. Even though, as of the last time we looked, mermaids weren't real and didn't specifically have a set ethnicity, people were furious about Hailey Bailey's casting as Ariel in The Little Mermaid. However, similar to Snow White, the argument over accepting change versus adhering to the original became a full-fledged conflict. But wait until you find out about Rachel Zegler's political status, if you believe her remarks regarding Snow White were the biggest problem. After Donald Trump won re-election in the 2024 election, the internet was already in ruins, and Rachel Zegler added gasoline to an already blazing fire. I find myself speechless in the midst of this, another 4 years of hatred leading us towards a world I do not want to live in, she wrote on Instagram. Isn't that a strong statement? She continued, however, by expressing concern about raising her future daughter in a world where Trump were president. Then came the statement that truly infuriated people. May Trump's followers, voters, and himself never experience peace. Yes, she said that to millions of her Instagram followers, and let's just say that the internet went crazy. Conservative commentators, Trump supporters, and even some neutral bystanders were not amused. Social media erupted in angry think pieces, boycott calls, and demands that Disney fire Rachel from Snow White right away. She was being criticized for being hateful, polarizing, and not exactly Disney princess material. She was even likened by some to Gina Carano, the actress who was fired from The Mandalorian due to her own strong political opinions. Rachel did what every famous person in hot water does after being attacked online for a week or so. She apologized. But was it sufficient? Let's dissect it then. She acknowledged that she allowed her feelings to control her and expressed regret for contributing to the negative conversation. She even added, "We need to respect differing opinions," and made a commitment to be more upbeat going forward. Did anyone purchase it though? Well, not totally. While some fans were appreciative that she acknowledged it, others did not share her conviction, viewing it as a classic public relations ploy, an attempt to repair the damage after she realized Disney would not support her. Speaking of Disney, let's just say that the Mouse House was eager to avoid getting involved in this situation. Disney never issued an official statement in response to the numerous public calls for her replacement. Instead, they sat in the background, counting their billions while the internet fought it out. Let's face it though, this controversy made an already contentious Snow White remake even more messy, and controversy always leads to a poor box office performance. Let's now put everything into perspective. The box office performance of Disney's live-action films has been inconsistent. The Little Mermaid barely surpassed $569.6 million worldwide at launch, with $95.6 million, and continued to struggle to achieve significant profitability. Snow White might not even reach the $67 million that Cinderella, which debuted in 2015, did. It's not a good look to fall short of a movie that was released almost 10 years ago. And this is where things get really complicated. With such a large budget, Snow White must earn at least $800 million globally in order to break even. To put that in perspective, consider the box office failures of some of Marvel's biggest films in recent years, which featured superheroes, explosions, and sizable fan bases. With an opening weekend that barely passes, Snow White may end up being one of Disney's worst box office failures in recent memory unless it miraculously gains traction in the weeks that follow. What would happen then if it failed? First of all, it might force Disney to reconsider their entire live-action remake approach. They have been making money off of these reimaginings for years, but if a $300 million film fails, they may finally pull the plug. Let's face it, given the mixed reviews live-action remakes have been receiving lately, this could be the tipping point. All eyes are on Snow White as the release date draws nearer. Will it be able to pull off a Cinderella-style comeback and surprise everyone? Disney is undoubtedly hoping for a fairy tale ending, but at the moment, it appears to be more of a box office nightmare.